Some say the most important day in the history of personal computers occurred about 6 years ago when IBM introduced the original IBM PC. Since then, we've seen the XT, the AT, hundreds of clones, but it was this original IBM PC which set the standard. Today, IBM is trying to establish a new standard with a second generation of personal computers, the Personal System 2. Will this be a major event in personal computing history or just another new product introduction? We'll try to get an answer to that question today as we take an analytical look at the Personal System 2 computers from IBM on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
The Computer Chronicles is made possible by Leading Edge, makers of IBM-compatible computer systems, including word processing with spelling correction, communication software, and Hayes-compatible 1200 and 2400 baud modems. Leading Edge, with over 1,000 service centers nationwide. Leading Edge, leading the way to the information age. Additional funding is provided by McGraw-Hill, publishers of Byte. Byte's detailed technical articles on new hardware, software, and languages cover developments in computer technology worldwide.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and this is Gary Kildall. Gary, this is the new IBM Model 50, part of its new line of Personal System 2 computers. There's been so much talk about the new IBM machines, people wondering how important a new product introduction this really is. Is it as important as the original IBM PC and so on? I want to ask you, what do you think? Is this exciting new technology, or is it really repackaging existing technology?
Well, IBM was forced to repackage some of the technology to be compatible with the old ATs, but in fact there are a lot of really interesting things that have been added to it. We have graphics, mouse support, the micro-channel architecture. That means we're going to see some really interesting, colorful business applications. We're going to see good multitasking networking support. And in fact, if you want to take a look at the whole line, it's covered right from the low end all the way up to the scientific workstations with the Model 80. So in general, I'm very impressed with the whole line.
Gary, we're going to take a look at the Personal System 2 computers today. We'll talk to journalists, analysts, and consultants to see what they think about the new IBM machines, and we'll get to play with one, take it apart, and see what it can do. First of all, what do consumers think about these new IBM computers? We talked to several computer retailers to find out what kind of feedback they're getting.
It was the biggest IBM product announcement since the original PC. And if the PS2 line didn't frighten the clone makers, it has brought a wide spectrum of potential buyers into computer stores with differing reactions.
First-time customers in the first week the machine was here were curious, would be the correct word. You know, curious about the smaller disk drives, curious about the displays, and the changes, you know, from the traditional IBM PC, which has been around for a long time. Business customers, though, have seemed to have caught right on to the Model 50s and 60s, and they're selling quite nicely. Lots of inquiries and lots of sales right away. So there seems to be an acceptance, which we had some doubts about, by small business.
The smaller footprint and better graphics of the new machines seem to attract the most favorable comments. But some nagging questions about software availability have yet to be answered.
Some of the customers are real concerned about the vaporware and some of the software that's not available at this point. And a lot of them want to have and touch and feel the products before they actually say, I want to buy. They want to see it and experience it before they actually go out and acquire the products.
Whatever effect the Operating System 2 delay has on sales, IBM's marketing plans appear to be a big hit with dealers. Restricting the number of sales outlets keeps profit margins up, and the training program is comprehensive.
What they're doing with the Personal System 2 is retraining the whole staff, technical and sales, in a timely manner. So, for example, by the end of this month, our whole sales staff will be trained at 2-day and more seminars, and some of them have already been trained. And that's particularly fast for such a new product.
Joining us in the studio now is Tony Harris, Director of Graphics Marketing for Digital Research, and next to Tony is Ron Kaufman, Technical Consultant with RX Computers in Oakland. Gary.
Tony, you and the GEM Group had quite a bit of experience with the PS2 during the porting of the GEM applications. What is your impression of the machine overall?
Well, this is definitely the machine for the end user, no question. Basically, right out of the box, the end user has very few cables to plug in, everything's clearly marked, very simple. Graphics are on the board, so no boards to plug in, as much memory as he needs, and high-resolution graphics, 640 by 480 resolution and 16 colors, and away he goes.
Ron, what about from your perspective? You're a kind of frontline guy here who works with users. You've been working in the AT world primarily. What do you think about these machines?
Well, I walked out of the IBM press conference. I had two striking impressions. One is that they upped the ante for, they created the microchannel architecture, which is a wonderful compilation of all the improvements that have happened over the last 5 or 6 years to the original PC. They did a nice job of that, and they've made it very much easier for third-party vendors and IBM themselves to make further improvements to this machine. I think it's going to be around probably as long as the original PC, 4 or 5 years, and the second impression is that commitment to open architecture. I think there's no question that they stated that very firmly.
Right.
Tony, one of the raps in the old IBM PCs has been in the world of desktop publishing, which is a very hot application now. It really hasn't been a very friendly machine in that environment. Have they really solved the problems of the PS2, a good desktop machine?
I think so. Basically, the high-resolution capability of the machine, 640 by 480, is now standard, and the monitor that comes with it is able to handle that straight away. You really need that kind of resolution to be able to display text and fonts on the screen, and also with the power of the processor, the two combine now to really give you a superb desktop publishing solution.
Now, in working with Jim, of course, you've come out now with a desktop publisher, and I might mention, Gary, this is, of course, your product, and your company. Microsoft isn't the only software company working with IBM. You, in fact, were one of 10 companies, I think, that IBM had as part of the
That's correct. We were real happy to be a part of that.
Show us how desktop publisher from Gem, for example, runs on the Model 50.
Okay, well, we're seeing the 640 by 480 16 color resolution of the machine at the moment, and this is the Gem desktop publisher application. What I can do here is we're showing the text. What I can do is drop a rectangle in here, much as you might see a rectangle on your paper at home, and then I can just simply select graphics here. We'll pull in a map of desktop publishing usage across the USA. I can then go to full page mode, and here we can really see the resolution of the machine coming into play, the speed of the processor, really combining to let me lay out my printed page and even add more graphics in, and then see how the text wraps around, and we can bring in a pie chart. So here what we have is high resolution combined with speed, combined with a really easy-to-use application, all working hand in hand for a desktop publishing solution.
Ron, when you see this, is the AT a kind of obsolete machine now?
I don't think it's obsolete at all. I really believe that, well, first off, most of the technology here can be added into an AT, as we already know. What the AT doesn't have, it's not the standard for the future. I believe it will run. It's allegedly going to run OS2. The talked about presentation manager, I'd like to know if Tony has actually seen that yet. Which I think is as we've seen from the Macintosh, is going to be the way that programs will be written in the future. So while it's not obsolete, as a matter of fact, there's some very, very good buys in the AT world right now. You can buy an AT for about $2,000, and that's quite a deal. If you have that need, you can probably beef it up to this. For about the same price range.
Ron, you brought up OS2, Operating System 2, which is the new operating system somewhere down the line.
Alleged
operating system, 1988 and beyond. Let me ask you guys, you're involved obviously in that world. How much of a handicap is it right now, do you think, to these machines that everybody's going to sit around and wait for the new operating system and the new power of the machines, particularly at the Model 80 end?
Well, of course, the way I'd answer that is that there is already an operating system from Digital Research, in fact, which runs on both the 286 and the 386 systems in the full-up protected mode, and that is in Flex OS. That's our operating system, and that's available today. Of course, as operating system 2 comes online, then our current Gem applications will move into that and remain compatible with it, indeed, as with Flex OS as well.
What about DOS 3.3? Is that any major improvement?
Well, it's not a major improvement, but it is clear that DOS 3.3 is going to be the productivity tool operating system for the next couple of years. I think it's much less clear that OS2 is going to be the operating system of choice for multi-user, multitasking operations. I thought it was significant